These Hindu statues are photos that I took in the Asian Museum in San Francisco. Once installed with temples, were considered, when activated, to embody the divine presence. So we've seen this in Mesopotamia, Egypt, Babylon, early Christianity, Korea, the Buddhist tradition, and of course now the Hindu tradition. Worshippers were graced by the divine presence of the image merely by seeing the image, and at the same time by presenting themselves to be seen by the divine. That is what the card in the Asian Museum in San Francisco says. That as we are looking at this image, we are presenting ourselves to be seen by the divine being, by Vishnu or whatever other avatar we're looking at. In their original settings, many images were adorned with fine cloths, jewels, garlands, and sacred powders. In worship, they were cared for and honored with the presentation of such items as food, incense, and flowers as befitting royal or honored guests. The Egyptians did the same thing with their false doors, because they weren't false doors. They were actually portals or gateways to the divine realm, works of art that functioned as conduits between earth and heaven. Did I catch you dreaming, even believing you were alive? Pull back the curtain, see how the smallest things collide just to make us in a dream for white light. Love that song called Running by The Lonely Wild. Did I catch you dreaming? That's what the Buddha's asking here. Are you awakening your consciousness? Are you utilizing the power of your neocortex, of neuroplasticity, to look at an image for 1,000 hours, a couple thousand hours, and alter your brain so that you match that of the Buddha or the Christ? According to Hindu Buddhist thought, all that we behold around us is Maya, illusion. Here's how this works. This three-dimensional cube looks like a cube, but it's actually 12 lines projected onto your computer screen that are brought to life in your imagination as a cube. One that keeps flipping back and forth, showing us the duality of this world. Every moment of our lives, every single second, we are bringing all this out here to life in our imagination. We're told in the holographic nature of our universe and this simulated reality that we live in, that all of this is brought to light by our imagination. So of course, we can use images to come in from outside the cube. It's flipping back and forth, as I said, and this represents the duality of light and dark, love and fear. The only two choices that we make when we see everyone and everything. We're going to either put love into that situation or person or fear. In the universal law, the golden rule says what we get out is what we get back. But what the cube demonstrates is that that division, that judgment, is an illusion. It's actually all just one cube. There's no yes or no, light, dark, love, or fear about it. It's all the same energy, and we choose through our judgment, through our neocortex, what we're going to put into it. This glass of water is a collection of paint, and glass, and water, H2O, but to a quantum physicist, it's energy in motion. A bunch of empty space. It's all brought to life in my imagination. And it's refreshing. Just like everything else that we see around here, it's all brought to life. And once we understand that, we can see how the three-dimensional cube becomes the core of the fourth-dimensional hypercube. And that there are, in fact, portals and gateways in our imagination leading into other dimensions where we can interact with these divine beings. This is probably my number one mind-blowing painting I've ever encountered. It's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It shows the Buddha of infinite light descending from the celestial realms, from the pure land of the Buddhas. He's descending with his entourage, all bodhisattvas, beings of light and love who are riding upon clouds, the symbol of their ascension vehicles and their ascended status. They're cloud riders. And what we see is that the Buddha of infinite light is a radiant being of light. This tanka is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. And the placard, the sign beside this states this about this painting. It says, like many of the works of art created to represent the Pure Land belief in salvation through faith, welcoming descent paintings like this were indispensable religious furnishings at the time of death. Such paintings depict the scene in which the Amitabha Buddha, the Buddha of infinite light, and his attendants descend from heaven to take a believer back to the Western paradise on a lotus throne, his ascension vehicle. The scrolls were often hung by the bedside of the dying to ensure the prospect of rebirth in paradise. Sometimes, silken cords were attached to Buddha's hand, offering the dying physical assistance during the journey to paradise. That makes total sense in the context of what we've been talking about. But still, how can a painting be a portal? Well, we've explained that. In our quantum universe, in our holographic universe, the painting is a portal that these divine beings can use in order to bring you from the physical realm into the immortal realm. And the fact that they attach silken cords to the painting is just absolutely mind-boggling to me. If we were in a Tibetan monastery anytime in the past 1,000 years, we might have encountered an image such as this. It's called the Path of Calm Abiding. It's an open-eye meditation. We see a gray elephant making its way up a serpentine pathway going up to a rainbow bridge. The Buddhists would use this as an open-eye meditation to contemplate, meditate, and reflect on how we have to purify our mind in order to enter into the pure realms. As we see the elephant going up the pathway here, it encounters various obstacles and challenges. And as it overcomes those obstacles and challenges, it gradually goes from being gray into a pink elephant until it gets up to the top of the image where it sees the rainbow bridge that's opened up into the pure land. And the pink elephant is now coming and going, having acquired the ability to phase back and forth at will between the physical realm or the celestial realm and the earthly realm, if that is the greatest method to develop or to deliver the greatest amount of compassion. The idea here is that the painting is a guide for our consciousness once again. And in Buddhist art, we see this theme over and over again of the stairway to heaven and of enlightened beings descending through portals and gateways. The painting is the portal or gateway. The painting is the portal or gateway itself. And through the painting, the Amitabha Buddha, the Buddha of infinite light, is descending the stairway to heaven and assisting us in our transformation. This is the message of these incredible Buddhist tankas that feature ascended beings like Padmasambhava, who taught the rainbow light body teaching in the 8th century in Tibet, or came to Tibet from India to teach it. These images always emphasize this idea that our true nature is a rainbow light body being, a glorious being of light, and that, in fact, we are always connected to the divine or celestial realms through our light body. So actually, this brings up a very important point, that we can argue that it is not our physical brain that is actually interacting with these images. It's our divine self, it's our light being self that is absorbing the light of these images and using that light to begin to transmute our physical body into its original divine status. Just as light is not only a wave, but is also a particle, that's the quantum duality of light, our body also has this dualistic aspect. What is a painting but a collection of dots or particles that make a wave? That's the quantum nature of painting and art. So an image can interact with an image through this quantum portal that is created in our consciousness. If you view the human being as a soul, you experience the wave-like spirit body and will tend towards a mystical religious point of view. But to see the full human body, the full human being, you must flip back and forth between these points of view until you're able to experience that human beings are both particle-like physical bodies and wave-like energy bodies, exactly as told in the Genesis story, where sown as a physical body, raised as a spiritual body. That's what Paul taught as well. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. And we think that that image is of our physical body. It's not. It's of our metaphysical light body. And that is what is, I believe, encoded within this incredible painting of Jesus as a craftsman, as a carpenter, in fact, utilizing his compass and scales. What we see in this painting from the 14th century is extraordinary. We see an image of Christ or Jesus fashioning a human being that is actually matches what we today call a fractal, a specific fractal, in fact, the Mandelbrot set. And this is a very key teaching for us to grasp a hold of. In 1980, Dr. Benoit Mandelbrot discovered the infinitely complex geometrical shape called the Mandelbrot set, using a very simple equation with computers and graphics. In the 1970s and 80s, mathematicians working in an area called dynamical systems made use of the ever-advancing computing power to draw computer images of the objects they were working on. What they saw blew their minds. Fractal-like structures whose beauty and complexity is rivaled only by nature itself. In fact, nature itself is considered to be fractal in nature. And at the heart of these fractals lays the Mandelbrot set. It's generated by what's called iteration, which means to repeat a process over and over again. It's a set of numbers, and from those numbers you can generate pictures. And the pictures are infinitely complicated. At every level of magnification, the image repeats itself into infinity. Now think about this in the context that we are made in the image of God. We are fractals of God. In fact, the Mandelbrot set is a mathematical icon that has been called the thumbprint of God. The metaphysical message of that is that we are connected always with our Creator because we are fractal images of our Creator. And as the Mandelbrot set demonstrates, at every level of magnification, the pattern is exactly the same. No matter how deep you go into it, the image remains the same. And that is the metaphysical teaching here of the light body, that when we're made in the image of the Creator, it's not this flesh and blood form that we're talking about. It is our fractal-like light body form. And the key about the Mandelbrot set is that if a programmer looks at the Mandelbrot set and wants to change some tiny detail, maybe make one of the bumps go away, they can't do it without getting back to the original equation and changing it. But if they do that, they change everything. They tear the universe down and build another one from scratch. So within the Mandelbrot set, we see the richness of our unity and also the richness of our individuality. We are, in effect, baby Mandelbrot sets, which is stunning because look at this image here of the Akasagra Buddha from the 12th century. The Buddha is meditating in a shape that is, in my opinion, identical to the Mandelbrot set, or the human form is identical to the Mandelbrot set. I didn't even do any manipulation of this. I just took a Mandelbrot set fractal and inserted or superimposed it over the meditating Buddha, and it's a perfect match. It once again refers us to this idea that we are made in the image of God, in the light being image of God. In fact, a clever mathematician noticed this similarity between the Mandelbrot set and the meditating Buddha and decided to alter the Mandelbrot set equation and came up with what's called the Buddhabrot, a rendering technique of the Mandelbrot set that represents in more detail the classical depictions of Buddha seated in a meditation pose with his forehead marked in traditional top knot. Absolutely stunning. So from this, I've deduced the idea that our rainbow light body, as the Buddhists say, is our true nature. And when it says we're made in the image of God, this is the image that we're talking about. And the image within us can link with or connect with the image of God through the light body. We see this idea of this fractal-like aspect of ourselves rendered in Buddhist art, and we are intrigued, to say the least, by its correspondence with the idea that all the elements of our body come from supernovas, which are stars that resurrected into another form, leaving behind the shell of their material, that then fans out into the galaxy and became the materials out of which our bodies are made. Look at the correspondence between the supernova, the rainbow-like quality of the supernova, the exploding star, and the rainbow-like, or the rainbow quality of the human who is transformed into a star being. Matches that Hermetic adage, as above, so below, as within, so without, actually precisely. Crossing back to Egypt, we see that Osiris and his resurrected body, the color, the energy, the intent matches that of the rainbow light body, such that we can say that the images of the resurrected Osiris clearly point to his existence in a new state of being, matching that of the rainbow light body. Jesus in his resurrected form also attained this extraordinary state of being. In fact, the Gospel of Philip says that the Lord rose from the dead. He became as he was, but now his body was perfect, meaning whole, wholly, complete, compassionate, and a being of light. He goes on to say that Jesus possessed flesh, but this was true flesh. Our flesh isn't true. Ours is only an image of the true. Ours is only an image of the true. Our physical flesh and blood body is not our true self. Our light body self, our rainbow light body, is our true self. And here we see the direct correspondence between the images of Jesus and his rainbow or glory body and that of the Tibetan rainbow light body. They're a perfect match because it's the same state of being. For Buddhists, the ultimate goal of spiritual practice is to awaken to this true nature. This is ascension. This is what ascension is. Ascension doesn't mean you're going to suddenly go off and live in some other dimension somewhere. It means you're going to live more and more from your true nature, which is the nature of the fully enlightened Buddha. It means you're going to live from the perspective of your light body. It means you're going to connect with your rainbow light body. And the way you do that is through sacred art. This is the lost art of living ascension. By contemplating, meditating, and reflecting on these images, as the Buddhists teach, we become the Buddha. We become rainbow light beings by interacting with the image. It feeds our light body. So whether you prefer images of Osiris, images of Christ and his resurrection body, or Padmasambhava, it makes no difference, because all of these traditions teach exactly the same thing. These divine beings can transmit their vibration through the image. And especially the eye-to-eye, full facial frontal contact are the ones you want to seek. This is John Van Eyck's image of the resurrected Jesus. It's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, and I've used it for years as an open-eye meditation tool to mirror what Jesus is doing. In fact, to receive that divine light that he is transmitting through that image. To achieve illumination or experience Buddha nature, we must meditate on the blue pearl, the jewel in the heart of the golden lotus, is what the Buddhists teach. This is the meaning of Om Mani Padme Hum, the Buddhist mantra that calls down divine blessings. So if you're looking for a practice, in addition to utilizing these images, chant Om Mani Padme Hum, because it will call in those divine blessings. The Buddhists teach that through regular and prolonged meditation and focus on the blue pearl or images of the blue pearl, which is what we see here, one gradually experiences their true nature. It represents the attainment of the rainbow light body, which is interesting because talking about practices again, the art of living ascension, what can you do in your daily life and practice that can connect you with these beings, is you can chant Om Mani Padme Hum. Om is the sound or vibration of the universe. Ma removes the attachment to jealousy and establishes ethics. Ni removes the attachment to desire and establishes patience. Pad establishes perseverance. Me establishes concentration. And Hum removes the attachment to hatred and establishes wisdom. These are the 6 paramitas or perfections of the Buddhist tradition. So in this way, recitation of the mantra helps achieve perfection in these 6 practices, from generosity to wisdom. Beyond that, it is said that all of the teachings of the Buddha are contained in this mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. And Tibetan Buddhists believe that saying the mantra, this prayer, out loud or silently to oneself invokes the powerful and benevolent attention of the Buddha. But viewing the written form of the mantra is said to have the same effect. And it's often carved into stones and placed where people can see them. This is our practice. This is the art, the lost art of living ascension, utilizing these images as reminders, constant reminders to feed our light body. We, according to neuroplasticity understanding, we need 10,000 hours in order to change our brain. So that means we want to be utilizing images a lot. We want them all around us. We want them in our environment. We want them in our car. We want them on our desk. We want them in every space that we're in, because those images can make every space that we're in sacred space and help us to activate our neural connections with these beings.